Sahanau Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritam Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. So we are doing this Abhipurvasya Yetehe Layarthatvam Prasiddham Prabhavavyayo Iti Utpatti Pralayo Prayoga Darshanatu. Sentence. Up to this we have seen. We cannot really determine, we cannot know, what the Shastra means. You see? I can't find out what the Shastra means by ignoring what it says. I can only figure out what it means through what it says. See? What it says means the words. You can't ignore the words and arrive at what it says. Therefore, because the Shastra is in the form of teaching, because it is in the form of the words, and I have to look at the words very thoroughly. And because the word is the Brahma, what conveys is the word. Senses can't tell me what I am. My eyes can't tell me what I am. My eyes can only illumine the form. Eyes can't illumine the formless. You see? Eyes can't illumine the formless. Ears can only illumine the sound. They can't illumine silence. Thus, the senses can illumine the prapancha, but the senses can't illumine nishprapancha. Nishprapancha means, freedom from prapancha. So, the senses can illumine the savisesha. Savisesha means objects with qualities. But the senses can't illumine the nirvisesha. Something that is free from all physical attributes, the formless, the soundless, which has no form, which can't be, which is not visible to the eyes, not audible, not touchable, not tastable, not smellable, not rememberable, not objectifiable, in short. So what is not objectifiable cannot be illuminated by the senses, because senses can objectify what is objectifiable. Senses cannot objectify the unobjectifiable. The formless, the senses can't objectify. So the senses can't tell me that I am the formless. My eyes can't tell me, hey, you are not this body, you are not this form, you are the formless being. My ears can't come and tell me, hey, you are not this form, you are the formless being. In this manner, my senses can't help me. My senses can't convey to be what I am. Therefore, in self-knowledge, in gaining self-knowledge, the senses are not a pramanam. They are not valid. They are not useful. Senses are useful for survival. That is a different matter. Senses are there. They are a different job. But senses are not, these sense organs are not going to, they can never convey to me what I am. Therefore, if the senses cannot convey to me what I am, then the sense perception-based inferences, speculations, then the sense perception-based inferences also cannot convey to me. Meaning, if my eyes can't convey to me what I am, I can't also infer what I am based on sense perception. Therefore, one thing is clear, senses are not a pramana. Therefore, who can come and tell me what I am? Only the words, shabda pramana. Why? Because words have a capacity to illumine the sabisesha and also illumine the nirvisesha. Words can describe a tree. Words can describe me as a form. Words can also convey to me as free from the form, neti, correctly. The words can come and tell me you are not the form, you are not in time, you have no beginning, you have no end, you are not inside the time, you are not inside the waking state, you are not inside the dream state. In fact, you transcend both, you move from one to another, and you move from waking to the dream, dream to the sleep, sleep to the waking, and therefore you don't carry with you the waking qualities to the dream, etc., etc. The words can make me recognize my formless nature. Therefore, in the matter of self-knowledge, the pramanam is Shabda. Therefore, Shabda is both Anuvada as well as Pratipadaka. Words as descriptive of the objects are called Anuvadakas, means they are descriptive of objects. That's called Anuvadaka. Anuvadaka means they are descriptive of the objects through their qualities. The tree is green. How do I describe a tree? Through its qualities. We can only describe a noun. We can only describe a noun through its adjectives. You see? We can describe a noun. That's called description. What else? The tree is tall, the tree is green, the tree is tamarind, it is sour, etc., etc. You can describe a flower. It is rose, it has these petals, and it has these colors, it has this smell, it has this size, it has this longevity, etc., 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 etc. It has a look. It has a physical look. Therefore, you can describe any noun in this world only by means of its qualities. इतना वाक्य को अगर आप जीवन में समझ गए ना, एक जीवन धन्य हो गया. मैं बताता हूँ आपको. People don't think. People don't think. You cannot describe a noun. You can only describe a noun by means of its qualities. And if there is something which has no qualities, qualities means it has no form, it has no color, it has no size, it has no... The seer, the observer of all qualities. Cat, the observer of the form. Doesn't have a form. The seer of the form has no form. The hearer of the sound is not a sound. You can't say sound hears the sound. The hearer of the sound is not a sound. The seer of the form is not a form. The one who takes the object is not an object. The one who sees the object is not an object. The one who sees the empirical is not empirical. The one who sees the empirical is not empirical. That is spiritual. You see? The spiritual is not something, is not something that is, higher within the empirical. The spiritual is not something higher within the empirical. The spiritual is that it is non-empirical. The non-empirical need not be inferred or imagined. That is where the problem comes. Just as the empirical world is evident to me, and that very me, the empirical is evident, is spiritual, because the one to whom the world is evident is spiritual. The seer is spiritual. And therefore, words, the glory of the words lies in the fact that they can describe the creation. They can also describe, convey the source. This fact is not known. Words are both descriptive as well as corrective. It is only when I say 10 times, out of 10 times, maybe you will hear once. How many people can't they do? Hey, the glory of language is, they can describe, we can use the words to describe the trees and mountains, means the physical creation. You can describe the body, you can describe the mind. So using the words to describe what I see, using the words to describe what I see, makes the words descriptive, and the technical term for that is anuvadaka. It is so much unfoldment. Anuvadaka means descriptive of an object which I see. It is anuvada. Anuvada means I already have the thought of it, I see it. I use the language for it. You know what it means? Tree is an object of thought, and it can't exist as an object of thought. If it doesn't exist as an object of thought and still exists, it has to be me, the subject. Either it should be the object of thought, or it should be the subject. So the tree has no existence except as an object of my perception. And the tree cannot exist also except as describable in words. It can't be a tree, it can't be an object and yet not available for words. So this is called, the words are available to describe the world. As descriptive of the world, the words are called anuvadaka. How many have said it once, twice? कोई बात नहीं, सुनते रहिए. क्या हो? संडे तो है. करना क्या है? संडे तो है. इसलिए भगवान ने एक संडे को लाके रखे में एक हफ्ता में कि थोड़ा रिपीटेशन हो जाए. words descriptive of the objects, the creation, are called Anuvadaka. The entire literature in the creation available, minus the Shastram, the entire bulk of words. Bhagavan Shankaracharya beautifully uses the word, the entire Shabda Rashi. He has got a beautiful attested term, Shabda Rashi. Heaps of words, meaning piles and piles of words available in this world, creation. What are they? Bhagavan says Anuvadakas. They are descriptive of the universe. Physics, chemistry, everything is all descriptive. Shastram also is words, but it describes the formless, describes the seer, not by means of its qualities, but by means of saying it has no qualities. It describes the truth, A, you have no form, that is what it is. You are not a sound, you are not a form, you have no color, you are not in time. Neti, naidam means you are free from this. Anything that is objectifiable is called this. You are free from being this. Who can convey this? You are not this. Because I am taking myself to be this. Therefore the words come and tell me, you are free from being this. And you are being free from this is there every time. Look at it. You don't have to accomplish your freedom, you have to register your freedom. There is a big difference between registering what is there and accomplishing. Vedanta doesn't help you accomplish freedom. Vedanta helps you register ever accomplished free nature of yours. बहुत बड़ी बात, तभी तो ज्ञान होगा. If it is freedom I try to accomplish it, I can't accomplish. What accomplish? We cannot accomplish anything. We can only know what is. We can only know what is. And we can't do anything else. Beyond survival. And if you call that accomplishment, okay. That also is not a big accomplishment. You are only taking air that is there. You are not creating air. You are only taking the sun that is there. Anyway, let us not go into the intricacies of the limitations of the jiva. The intricacies, the unknown intricacies of the limitedness of the jiva. It's just nothing. But his glory lies in the fact that he can know what he is. And therefore, when the words can come and tell me, you're not the one, you're not this, not this, not this, not this, not this. And that freedom is right to there, evident to you. Just as your being the seer of the form is evident, that itself is the evidence of your being not the form. Did we hear that? In being the seer of the form, in being the seer of the form is the evidence of your being not the form. Is not additional to it. Is not additional to it. Not being, the evidence of not being the form, the evidence of not being the form is not additional to the evidence of being the seer of the form. The very evidence of being the seer of the form is the evidence of not being the form. And it applies to everything. In being the seer of time is the evidence of not being in time, etc. Does the words come and convey to me my free nature? So words can be descriptive, words can be corrective. Words as descriptive are known to man. Words also have the capacity to convey the truth by way of being corrective is not known to man. Because when man thinks of the truth, he would again think of the truth in a manner that is available for words to describe. Describe. See, let him think of truth. Let him think of the truth. As thought of, it becomes. As thought of, it becomes descriptive. Describable. As thought of. As speculated about. Therefore, human beings use their senses, and the senses-based inferences man uses to imagine gas and wildly goes wild when he thinks about the reality, and that entire reality that he constructs is available for description. And therefore, coming back to the point, sense organs cannot tell me my actuality because they don't have the language of neti. Meaning, eyes can see the form, but they can't see. They can show the form, can't show formlessness. Eyes can see the form, meaning show the form. Did you hear this? Eyes can see the form, meaning show the form, but the eyes can't show me the formless. Why? Because they can't see the formless. Eyes can't see the formless. How can they see the formless? Form is the sole object of the eyes. Similarly, the five elements are the objects of the five senses. The absence of the prapancha, the absence of the five elements cannot be illumined by the five senses, because the five senses cannot see the nishprapancha. Because when there is no prapancha, there are also no senses. When there is no prapancha, there are no senses. Therefore, sense organs cannot really see the nishprapancha. Therefore, cannot show me the nishprapancha. Therefore, cannot show me that I am the nishprapancha. Therefore, the senses are not a pramanam in the matter of conveying to me that I am nishprapancha, that what I am. Therefore, understand pratyaksha is not the pramana. And pratyaksha based anumana is not the pramana. And pratyaksha related words as descriptive of the pratyaksha are also not the pramana. Pratyaksha is not the pramana. Pratyaksha based anumana is not the pramana. Pratyaksha, words descriptive of the pratyaksha are also not. Words descriptive of the pratyaksha is not a pramana. But the same words as corrective of my view of myself. That becomes the Brahma. Therefore, Shabda as corrective of my thinking of myself is Pramana, and that is called Shastra. And that is not known to me. Shabda Pramana. In fact, Shabda Pramana is who is the author of Shabda Pramana? The author of the Shabda as the Pramana, as corrective of man's view of himself. The author of the words, the author of the vision, that this observer is not the form, this observer is the truth of everything. This vision is conveyed by the words, and who is the author of it? It cannot be another jiva, because jiva thinks only based on perception. It is a pratyaksha pramana, it is a purusha pramana. Therefore, there is no exaggeration in saying or in beginning the Brahmasura begins on the note that Shastra Yonitvate, Tato Brahma Jignasa and Matyasya Yadaha. Shastra Yonitvate, Parameshwara, who is the reality, is the source of everything, he is the source of the Brahma. Who is the author of the eyes? Jiva. Who is the author of the sight? The sight is created by Newton or by some. How many? Maybe it's created by Scots. And say, whoever is the author of the object and the sense, himself is the author of Shabda Pramana. Not another jiva. Therefore, in understanding the Shabda Pramanam, which talks to me about myself, not by way of describing my attributes, but by describing me as free from all attributes, pointing out my freedom from all attributes. That is done by only Shabda. There is no alternative to Shabda. There is no Pramanam which is alternative. Who can come and tell me? My senses can't tell me, my inferences can't tell me, my guesswork can't tell me, nothing. The other individuals can't tell me, because they are also in the same boat. One jiva cannot be a pramana for another jiva. And if I go to heaven, the devatas, they are also jiva. They can't talk to me. Because they also have the same problem, they also say devoham. So they talk the language, they also go by sense perception, we go by sense perception. Any jiva in the creation goes by sense perception. And there is a gradation among the jivas, higher jivas like on the earth there are ants, and then there are the gradation among the jivas. You see, there are animals, and then higher animals, and the human beings like this, you see. There is a gradation. The gradation among the jivas is available for observation. So even if there are greater and greater jivas in the creation, but when it comes to the reality, well, they cannot make it. For them also, what is Brahman? That is the Brahman. For humans, that is the Brahman. In order to say this, that in this Srishti, corrective terms are the corrective words. The language is the Pramanam. The words, the teaching is the Pramanam. In order to convey this point, we have that, a particular adhyaya says, Indra wanted to know himself, goes to Shastra. Virochana wanted to know the Satyam, goes to Shastra. Which is Shastra? Same. Shastra. And what is the nature of their vichara? Avastatraya pariksha. Looking at your own experiences. So for them also, see the same truth, the same problem. They are the same truth with the same problem. Self-error is their problem, self-error is everyone's problem. And the correction also has to be done through the words. Why? Because there is no other pramana. Senses and senses-based inferences are not a pramana. Therefore, when you talk about Shastram in the light of fundamentally what the problem is, you can grasp the relevance of Shastram to us as jivas. What is the relevance of Shastram to jiva? You will take a few lifetimes to understand the relevance of Brahma. The relevance. And if this is the truth, to understand, I'll come back to my first sentence. To understand what the Shastra means, I must hear properly what it says, because I can know its vision only through its words. That vision is Tathparya. What is said is Prakriya. What is said is the Shabda of word. And I have to know what it means. And the Sampradaya means that a living tradition which tells, this is the Tathparyama, what is said here. This is the vision, etc. And therefore now, Asipurvasya, now therefore we have to be clear about the language here. What is the language? Id dhatu. Id is there. And if there is a prefix, let's start take place. You don't have to say we will listen to you only when it is all easy and the thirst. So what? When you go through the thirst, you get the jnana. In I is a root. And api is a prefix. When you combine, there is something called simple present tense. In simple present tense, it means apyeti. Apyeti means resolves. Did you hear the whole sentence? Apyeti means resolves. Simple present tense, like he goes. He goes is a simple present tense. Apyeti. Now we have a present tense, you have a future tense, and you have past tense. Go, went, gone, participle. The participle of idhatu is ita. Api plus ita. Apita. E plus E become E. A plus A. What we learn in nursery will become useful at the last stage of the travel. Understand? Just before gaining moksha, what gives you breakthrough is what we learn in the nursery. Therefore, E plus E, E. Api plus ita. Apita. Apita. Followed by a soft consonant becomes apito. bhavati. In this manner, you can just understand the Shruti says, Yana swabiti tada swam apito bhavati. Meaning when man sleeps, he resolves in himself. He goes back to himself. Clear? When a person goes to sleep, he goes back to himself. Going back to himself means he leaves the view. He leaves the identity with something other than himself. This is a mimamsa. One is grammatical determinism. Understanding the grammar, but understanding the tathparya is different. When the wave subsides, what is it really that resolves? When it was wave, there was only water. When there is no wave also, there is only water. In addition to water, there is nothing to resolve. What is there to resolve? When it is a wave, in fact, all that is there is only water. When the wave subsides, silent water is only water. And noisy, turbulent water also is just water. Then still when we say the wave resolves, what does it mean? How can we justify this language? Waveness and wave are one and the same, but what actually resolves? Only the idea. If the water thinks I am the wave, if the water thinks that I am the wave, that thinking that I am the wave, that thinking resolves. There is no wave, there is only thinking that I am the wave, I am a form. That thinking resolves. That's called Maya. Resolution of thinking. Similarly, when man sleeps, what resolves is not really some object, because there is no object, what is there is only subject. What is there is only subject? Because you can't, I have already covered this particular topic. Just as you can't say water and wave. You can't say gold and ornament. You can't say subject and object. It's a big jump. Looks too far-fetched, but that is true. Clay and pot is not really, not justified. This is an unjustifiable conjunction. At one place, Bhagavan Shankaracharya is saying, don't use irrelevant, redundant conjunctions. Archana says, Bhagavan and creation, don't use unnecessary conjunction, he says. Conjunction means cha. Where is and? Water and wave don't say, because there is no and there. Gold and ornament don't say, in actuality there is no and. If there is something which is equally real as water, there and pot and mat. Pot and mat, and it justified. It's okay. Cow and a horse. Cow and a horse. It's okay. Table and a desk. It's okay. Table and a dais is okay. But you can't say wood and table. You can't say water and the wind. You can say object and object, but you can't say subject and object. No. Because subject, the definition of the subject is that which has no trace of object in it. If you include object into the subject, then that also becomes object. And therefore, subject means that which has no objectness in it is the subject. Like the seer of the form has no trace of the form in it. The hearer of the sound has no trace of sound as an attribute of it. That subject of the three states, you can't say that subject and object. Therefore, if there is no and object, then what is it that resolves? What is it? There is nothing that resolves. And therefore, if the resolution has to be, if it has to be pressed in, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? That is called hunting for the Tathparya. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Until it makes sense. Until it makes such sense to you that you discover that it just can't be otherwise. An alternative to it is impossible. Can't be otherwise. Thus, all that resolves in sleep is my thinking that I am the form. Not something additional to me resolves. Something additional to me doesn't resolve, nor aware, nor the subject resolves, nor the object resolves. The thinking that I am the form resolves. This very resolution of the thinking is what is called Pararupalayaha. It is a laya of my idea of myself being something other than myself. Clear? This is the idea that I am the form resolves. And you can tally it with your experience. And a person sleeps exactly what is happening. Subject is not resolving unto something, because if subject resolves, you should lose the identity of being the subject, aparoksham, you should become object. So the subject doesn't resolve onto something. The being doesn't resolve, the thinking resolves. To put it in very, clearest terms. The being doesn't resolve, like silence doesn't resolve. The sound resolves. And silence is not thinking. Sound is an object of thought. Silence is not an object of thought. Like formlessness is not an object of the sight, of the form. Eyes can't see the formlessness. Ears can't hear silence. Ears can't hear silence. Silence is not an object of senses. Therefore it is not an object of thought. Therefore it is not an object of memory. Therefore it is not projection. Silence is the being, that is one's own being. Therefore that silence doesn't resolve. In fact, sound resolves. Like sound is thinking. Therefore see, even we can understand, even though we say sound, the thing resolves. But actually sound is not something additional to silence. Sound is not in addition to silence. You know why? Because if sound is in addition to silence, then sound should present itself independent of silence. In fact, to hear the sound we require, then in the context of silence we hear the sound. Did you hear this? Did you hear this? Hey Rama, badi baat. In the context of the silence that is, we hear the sound. Like the context for seeing the form is the subject, the formless. In the context of the formless, he is now registered the form. Now resolves the form. The form is seen in mixed in the context of form modes. The prapancha is perceived in the context of nishprapancha. The sound is heard in the context of the silence. And therefore silence doesn't resolve. Sound resolves, meaning the thought of sound resolves into silence. This is called a laya. Therefore, the tatparyam of laya is the being doesn't resolve, thinking resolves. And thinking about the truth can never be right thinking. All thinking about the truth is wrong thinking. Then what about the Shastra which is right thinking? Presupposing the wrong thinking, correcting that wrong thinking, registering that it is the wrong thinking is called right thinking. Is called right thinking. Otherwise, it is called resolution of correction of wrong thinking. Correction of wrong thinking is called right thinking. Not right thinking is another thinking in addition to wrong thinking. It is not like ghata and pata. Ghata means pot. Pata means cloth. Ghata and pata exist independent of each other. I can't say ghata is the absence of pata. I can't unless I want to drive somebody mad. What is ghata? Pata bhava. This is Nayayika. This is terrible. When you really peak in your logicality figuring out the truth, it drives you mad. Because truth is not available for logic. But you press with logic to comprehend the truth, and because the truth defies all logic, and you insist, with pressing with logic, what will happen? What will be the result? You go mad. Madness. A genuine man, a genuine magician goes mad. If he is non-genuine, no problem. He will remain all right. Because he is not going to press with that one. And therefore, ghata cannot be defined as pata bhava, because ghata has got its own identity. Pot has got its own identity, therefore you don't have to define it as the absence of pata. Cloth has got its own identity, you can describe it in words by means of its own attributes. Cloth has got its own attributes, therefore you can describe it, define it through its own attributes. Pot you can describe by means of its own attributes. So I did not define. Pot is absence of cloth, and cloth is absence of pot. There is no need. There is no need. In that manner, if wrong knowledge about the truth and right knowledge about the truth are like ghata and pata, then right knowledge about the truth should be available, should be present to me, independent of the absence of wrong knowledge. But you cannot think of right knowledge except as negation of wrong knowledge. And therefore, even though we call it right knowledge, actually it is negation of wrong knowledge. It's negation of wrong knowledge. Negation of wrong knowledge means negation of thinking. Negation of thinking in total about the truth. Why? Because truth is not an object of thought. Negation of thought. That means recognizing that truth is not an object of thought. If truth is not an object of thought, therefore any thought, looking upon the truth as an object of any thought is wrong thinking. Therefore that resolution of thinking, the thinking resolves, that is called laya. That thinking is corrected, that is called Brahma. In sleep, the thinking resolves. The same thinking which resolves in sleep. In Vedanta, man thinks and looks at what is happening in the waking and sleeping and corrects that thinking. That correction of the same thinking which has resolution in sleep is called Bhatha. And the clue to its correctability is, the clue to the correctability of this whole thinking is the fact that it is available for resolution. Anything that resolves can also be corrected, because whatever resolves is thinking, and if it is a thinking that resolves, that means it is a thinking that can be corrected, and what doesn't resolve cannot be corrected also. The being doesn't resolve, being can't be corrected, meaning being can't be disproved. The wrong thinking about the being can be corrected, means what can be disproved. The thinking about myself as a form can be disproved. That is otherwise what can be corrected. And that is what has laya in Sushupti. The thinking that I am the form has a laya in Sushupti, and therefore it can have bhatha, and it can be disproved. Means this thinking is wrong. In this manner it can be disproved. And what about the being? Has no laya, therefore has no bhatha. And that being remains unaffected by the presence of the thinking or by the laya of the thinking. That thinking is called Srishti. The thinking results is called laya. And when it is understood to be false, it is called bhatha. The Srishti doesn't make any dent on the being. The laya doesn't make any dent on the being. The bhatha, of course, doesn't do any line. The truth is unaffected by Srishti, Sthiti, laya, or bhatha. So even though we use the language Srishti, but Srishti of what? It's not Srishti of something else. Because something else is not possible. Something else is not possible. Srishti of the wave does not mean Srishti of something other than water. There is no Srishti really. That Srishti, even though we use the language Srishti, but actually the Tatparya is only notion. That is why it is called notional Srishti. This notional Srishti is one has to see, one has to be has to spend little more time and look at it. There is no notional Srishti. There is the perception that it is Srishti. But Shastra comes and conveys that it is a notion and combines the two. Notional Srishti. Is that notional is the unfoldment, Srishti is the universal perception. Like notional snake, because I call it snake, there is no notional snake. What you call a snake is notion, is the unfoldment. What is Jiva's perception? So snake, snake, snake. What is the actual, what is the Shabda Pramana, what does the Aptavakya say? It is not a snake, it is a notion. Now you combine your perception and the teaching. Then you combine. I saw it as a snake. The teacher comes and says, it is not a snake, it is a notion, and then combine. Notional snake. But he says such a thing called a notional snake. There is no notional snake. What you call snake is a notion. What is this notional universe? What you call universe is a notion about the truth. What is this notional embodiment? Notional embodiment means what? What you call embodiment is in fact a notion. It's a notion. It's a notional water. You call it water, but then actually it is a notion. Because water has no adjective called. It's all notional. Cool water, notional water. Is it something? Now notion has an attribute. There is no quality of the other. Neither water can be qualified as notional, nor notion can be qualified as watery notion. What is watery notion? That it is water is a notion, an error about the sand. It's an error in judgment. Similarly, ayam deha is what? A thinking. That's called realization. Therefore, this thinking alone has, this very thinking Shruti accepts as a prakriya, as a srishti. This very resolution of the thinking is called laya. And this very negation, correction is called bhaka. And the thinking, even if it resolves, it need not go forever because no notion disappears until it is corrected. As this must be understood clearly. Therefore, when man dies, his thinking resolves. His thinking is not correct. It has a laya. Resolves, I am using the word resolution only in the sense of laya. Laya is different from bhaka. You have to spend a little time to be serious about the difference between the two terms. Like, when I see the snake and then I close my eyes and try to forget it, that is called laya. Laya ho gaya. Kiska laya hua? Mera vichar ka laya ho gaya. Chalo, snake ka. For a student to begin in order not to frighten, because as long as you think there is a snake, Sola, Shastra also says that snake has life. That snake has life. When I close my eyes and close my memory, snake has a life. If it has a laya, then it will have srishti. Why? Laya is followed by srishti, I will see it again. And if it has srishti, then again it will be followed by laya. So srishti, laya, srishti, laya, srishti, laya, srishti, laya. Srishti, laya is anadi pravaha. Srishti, laya. Even time has srishti, time has laya. And the jiva sometimes when he comes across the shastram in some light, because every day how many times he closes his sight and how many times he opens his sight. All the time he is batting his eyelids. It's the same thing actually. What is happening in the long term alone is happening in the short term. A day's life is a short term. And one lifetime is a long term. And the pravaha, perennial travel, that is the longest term. short term, medium term, long term. Let us keep this way. A day's life is called short term. One lifetime is called medium term. And pravana is called long term. What is happening in the short term alone is happening in the medium term. And alone is happening long term. So in the short term, how many times you close our eyes, open our eyes, close all the time. And in the long term, in the night we close our eyes, in the morning we open our eyes. And memory. Srishti Laya. When I close my eyes, Laya. Srishti, Laya, Srishti. This is what is happening throughout the day. And when you take into account the light, every night, Laya. Morning, Srishti, Laya, Srishti. Srishti doesn't take place in the morning. Morning itself is Srishti. Morning is Ishtam. Morning, Srishti. Evening, Laya. And the long term is again the same thing. The entire life becomes Laya. New life, Srishti. That life, Laya, Srishti. Like a second, Laya, second system. A second is born, second dies. A day is born, day goes. A life is born, life begins. Bhagavan Krishna so casually, meaning takes it for granted that you know it so well. As if it is a very commonplace thing, he says, Jatasi dhruvam mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. So, if you are born, you shall die, and when you die, you will be born. Because for him anyway, that's so common, that's so clear for him. That's so clear. It's like when you go to sleep, you wake up, you fall asleep. I mean, this is the same thing for a layman. There is nothing really unconvincing about it. There is nothing doubtable about it. If you wake up, you will sleep, you will sleep, you will wake up. What is the sleep, waking, alternate each other? What is the doubt in it? Or if you close your eyes, it will be followed by opening eyes. Opening eyes will be followed by what is great doubt about it? Sleep, waking, what is doubt about it? Life, death, what is doubt about it? Sometime in some life the jiva happens to come to the Shastra, then he opens the real thing, the eye, the inner eye, the eye of looking at the unnegatable observer. The inner eye called Shabda Pramanam. He starts thinking about the Anubhava. So far he has been thinking about the objects of his experience. He never made the fact that he experiences. That he experiences has no negation, though what he experiences has negation. What I experience is anatma, that I experience is atma. In lives and lives, his attention is with anatma, his attention is not with atma. What I see preoccupies me, not that I see. What I keep thinking about, what I see. Therefore, Bhagavan, Ikshatyadhikaranam, the whole tradition beautifully says, throughout many lives, life after life, there is only anatma darshanam, there is no atma darshanam. And when there is introduction to the Shastram, through some punya karma, some good deeds, jiva can't stumble upon. Jiva is not an accident. You can't stumble upon. And if you stumble upon, it means there is a reason behind. That reason is some prayer, some good deed, a drowning ant perhaps you saved, and then received a blessing from it. You know? A drowning ant, you saved. A hungry man, you fed perhaps. A man suffering from cold, you gave some medicine or some blanket. These are all great deeds for Jiva because you know why they are so great? I'll tell you. This is another way of thinking. Because every Jiva has no time for anything other than his own survival. Where does man have time for anything other than his own survival? And still if you do something for somebody else's survival, to help somebody, it's a very big thing. You know, this helping the helpless brings you the anugraha to someone. Because what else can really bring grace? Simply saying Om Namah Shivaya itself need not bring grace. थोड़ा बहुत तो मिल ही जाएगा. But helping the helpless with a prayer in your heart, with a feeling heart, God let this small little deed come back to me in the form of your grace, in the form of inner clarity, in the form of inner peace, in the form of inner vairagya. God, let all the best come to me. Let all the clarity come to me. In this manner, sometimes, somewhere, really somebody, in some life, somewhere, you did something and that brings a person to the Shastra. It is not that some just like that. Ramana kehta hai, class chal raha hai, chalo jayenge. It's not possible. You will come up to the gate and go back. If it is not there in your karma, therefore, husband will come and leave the wife and himself will go back. Doesn't it happen? And that will give you some punya. Next life you will come to the class. That's for dropping the wife to the class creates punya for him. And that punya will bring him, maybe some. It's very interesting. Are you being serious about it? I'm dead serious. Serious means, in fact, that is the only thing I know. That is the only thing I know. I can only be serious. Okay, that's over. Now we are going to the next line. We have taken 3 classes to do this because I told you to understand what the Shastra means, I have to look at what it says. What it says. I have to only hear what it says and figure out what it means. The Shabda is important. That is why here Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, hey, understand, apipurvasya in the yishthatu with api means resolution, and resolution means the resolution of only the view, resolution of not of anything else. I mean, that is what you are saying, Swamiji. That is what he is going to say the next line. That is what Bhagavan is going to say, because there is no second to the truth resolve. There is no second to the truth to resolve. Truth can't resolve and there is nothing else to resolve. Then what else can resolve? It is the thinking that can resolve. Being can't resolve. Silence can't resolve. Sound can resolve. And in addition to the being, if there is something as you're looking as though something additional to the being, you don't think. That is why buddhi has laya. Buddhi has laya. And buddhi has srishti. And the whole universe is buddhi, looking like the object of buddhi. Snake is buddhi, but looks like, snake is a thought, but looks like object of thought. Whereas water is a perception, but looks like object of perception. Oh, badi baat hai ji. mirage water looks like. Second moon is perception, but looks like object of perception. Dream is thought, looks like object of thought. This whole universe is buddhi, thinking in the being, looking like object of thinking. Object of thinking. This is going to be the topic for the next slide. That we will see. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnam Purnavacchane Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Mudrishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.